Ooh, I'm excited. We winner.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Fish Stripes Live. We are here previewing the 4-game series between your Miami Marlins and division rival, the New York Mets. As you can see, we have a full house tonight, a very big guest, and we are excited to be joined here tonight from the Le Batard Show, Billy Gill. Billy, it's great to have you on here tonight.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Doing terrific.
Great.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about this. I've been stressing it for a couple weeks now.
No, same here. You are what do we think in terms of biggest guests that we've had this season? You're probably top 5. Probably top 5 with John Morales from NBC.
John Morales.
And
Mish.
That was the first one. We haven't had Mish this year. That was last year.
Oh, last year?
This year I was gonna go with top 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Top 2, maybe top 2 this year.
And not 2.
Top 5 all time, if you can.
How was John Morales?
He's gonna be a tough act to follow.
Yeah,
he had some exclusive reporting about the roof at Lone Depot Park and when they opened it and when they didn't, and that was very popular. But we brought you in just to be yourself.
Now I feel like I've been set up for failure. Like I was stressed out as it was before this, but now that I know you had John Morales and he was giving you like exclusive, I feel like I'm gonna do nothing but disappoint you guys.
So, let me introduce the rest of the panel for everyone watching. We have Mr. Isaac Zhu, Eli Sussman, joining us today, Alex Kirchuk, and Brent Coscuruela. Everyone, it's great to have everybody on here tonight. We had a big series here in Miami against arguably the 2 best players in baseball at the moment, in Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. I'm going to start with Mr. Billy Gill. What did you see from that LA series, and how great was to see Ohtani pitch in Lone Depot?
I hated it. I'm sorry. I wanted to go. I went to the game yesterday. I don't know if you guys were there. I went to the game yesterday. Actually, I did see that you were there because I saw that you put up Monte Harrison's tribute, which we could talk about later, I'm sure.
Nice.
But yeah, so I wanted to go. I had to choose one of the 2 games because my wife is not going to let me go to both games with my baby. So we went yesterday because I figured I could see Sandy kind of whenever, and Shohei, I don't know when he'll be back. So I went yesterday, but I wanted to see the Marlins like destroy Shohei. Like I wanted them to embarrass him. I know that he's like Babe Ruth and all that, but I didn't want him to be that good against the Marlins. I wanted him to be destroyed by the Marlins, but it didn't happen. Everybody was talking about a historic performance, 10 strikeouts, 2 RBIs, stolen base. Hasn't happened in like 100 years. So like, yeah, it was cool and all. Like good for him, but it's not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the Marlins beat him.
Yeah, it was not great. But what was great was the day before with Sandy. I remember I was at that game. Just incredible to see Sandy, go 8, strike out guys like Shohei and Trout. Isaac, you were there also. What did you see really quick from Sandy going up against the Angels?
Yeah, don't forget about him striking out Jonathan VR. That was quite the feat for him as well. What Billy said about Shohei being there yesterday, the Marlins were off to kind of a good start. They manufactured a run in the first, so we were thinking, okay, maybe they can squeeze a win out here, and sweep the Angels. But he just did what he's done all year and struck out 10, only walked 3. He had a phenomenal performance. And Sandy, he was, he had just as good of a performance as Shohei did on Tuesday night, where he just went bananas. He also struck out 10, if I'm not mistaken. He earned the win. They made us sweat in the 9th inning by bringing in Tanner Scott, but that was a riveting ball game, 2-10 for sure.
Hey, when I knew they were in trouble last night. There is this faceless Twitter account named Diane something, and she's like in her 60s, but she's the smartest person I've ever encountered about Marlins baseball. Everything she says She like just replies quietly. She doesn't look for attention, but every time she brings up something, she's on the money. And she's freaking out in the third inning. It's Diane. And she's saying that they missed their opportunity in the first 2 innings. Only one run. She thought they had Ohtani on the ropes. And she, like I said, she knows things that nobody else knows. And when she was freaking out, that's when I was freaking out. And that's when I put a live bet on the Angels to win.
Oh, wow.
And it worked out. Thanks to Diane, even though she didn't specifically recommend doing that. But I don't know. This is the way that we thought the series would go. Most of us, right? Like most of us had a series split with either Sandy winning MVP or Shohei winning MVP. And by our formula, just a tiny bit, Ohtani crept ahead. But both of them lived up to the hype. Absolutely.
When are you guys going to get Diane on?
Well, I'll be our probably next up. She's probably next up on the guest list.
And also from that first game with Sandy, I wanted to mention probably one of the biggest topics besides Sandy himself was Avi Garcia getting ejected. And then right after, Brian De La Cruz hitting just a monstrous home run. What did you guys see from Avi getting ejected? Was that the right call? Was that something that should have been done? Just how do you think that whole situation was handled? We'll go to Alex.
I mean, it was one of the rare instances where I actually wasn't really railing against the umpires that much because that strike zone was consistently wide for both sides from the very beginning. So I actually wasn't that upset at most of his calls because it was consistent and it was early. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think that Avi Garcia call was like the worst call of the night. If I'm remembering correctly, it was like a foot below the bottom of the zone. And if I'm correct about that, I actually had no problem with that particular one because that one was just egregious. It was weird that Mattingly did come out and say something that time, right?
Yeah.
It's about time because the last couple times that happened, he didn't come out and say anything. But I thought it was the right thing for Avi to do it because like both sides were giving it to the umpire all night. But it sucks because with as bad as he's been playing this year, I didn't really care that he got thrown out.
Let me ask Brent, as a player yourself, when you're having that maybe misses calls and it's really outside the zone, just how does that affect you? And maybe how do you go and talk to the ump and try, not to get ejected, but let them hear that the call was wrong?
I mean, hitting in general is probably the hardest thing in sports, but especially when you're dealing with an umpire that's given the pitcher even more of an advantage that they already have, it's frustrating. I mean, I can see why he got tossed. I saw it. I knew he was going to get tossed right away just by his body language. And I thought Donnie was a little slow to get out there, but I guess he must have said a little too much too quick. But, I mean, you could turn around and be respectful, but he just must have crossed the line right there, and he just got sent home early.
You know how bad a pitch it was? You could see like the whole strike zone here and a few inches below it, and you still don't see the ball. I had to remove the little headline to drop it down far enough for us to see where the ball crossed. That's almost a full foot below the bottom of the zone. Wow.
Yeah, and I guess a good question to throw over to Billy would be robo umps. Can they come soon enough, or do you like the human aspect of it?
I mean, I don't know. I do like the human aspect of it, but some of the calls lately have been so bad. I feel like the calls that we see on TV, though, like the strike zone is not as accurate as you would think, right? Like they're not adjusting to each person. So they're not as bad as it seems. I'll tell you this, like I've complained about people complaining about the strike zone so much on Twitter that Mike Schur, who's like the guy from The Good Place, creator of The Good Place and Parks and Rec and all of those, he's someone that is constantly doing it. And I was complaining about the fact that he's always doing that. And then he, like every single day, has sent me a screenshot of missed calls from a game in Major League Baseball for like a week and a half now. And it makes me regret ever bringing it up on the show because I can't get away from him. I can't get away from the strike zones. I can't get away from the screenshots. Every single day I'll get it. It'll be a ball. It'll be a strike. Yesterday was in a game between, I think, the Red Sox and the Rays, and it was like a random ball 3 that was called that had nothing to do with the outcome. And I feel like he's just torturing me now with the screenshots that he sends me every single day. But like, I don't know. I mean, I guess robo umps will make it better, but then we wouldn't be talking about this, right?
Exactly.
No one would remember Bobby Cox if we had robo umps.
Man, Bobby Cox was wild back in the day. Like, because he seems so calm, but would get ejected so quickly that he has to have been saying all kinds of atrocities to the umpires. Do you guys like robo umps? Do you guys all want robo umps?
the idea sounds good for a perfect strike zone, but then again, having the manager, your skipper running out of the dugout, chest bumping the umpire, screaming at him, that's baseball. It's one of the only things in sports where you can have your coach show emotion like that with an official.
That's what I miss about the replays, because like when the replays came out, we kind of lost some of that, right? Because it was kind of like, well, this is the final say, this is the replay. You can't go argue, you'll be ejected. So you don't really have like that passion that you would have before, even if half the times the managers or the players knew they were wrong. It's like, well, I'm going to give them like my money's worth here. Yeah. And there hasn't been as much of that anymore.
And I miss it. That was the best, man. Seeing those managers run out to the field umpires and screaming at them.
Yeah, it only happens in a few instances where even after the review, the manager still gets livid with the umpire. And my most recent memory of that was Mike Redmond going out with the umpire when they overturned the safe at home call with Zach Cozart. Apparently Jeff Mathis blocked the play with that bullshit rule. So I think
they should let the managers get on the headsets with New York and let them argue with that.
As you can see really quick, that scorecard from that game, just the overall accuracy is just insane. And then you look at the runs factor for LA, almost +2, and it really shows how much Sandy just absolutely was just so dominant that even with the favored calls for the Angels, the Marlins still got it done. And you can see that strike zone is just insane all over the place. Just one of the most craziest ones so far this season.
Wow. 89 is like a B+, right? That's fine.
Hey, that's a B+.
Let's see what this is. No, this is one that this is one of the worst ones. 4%.
Or the C-.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't follow this account regularly, like average umpires are like 95% accurate.
Right.
In the major leagues across the board. It's just like a handful of even borderline calls that not that this is like definitive or anything, but this was a really crazy case. And it comes like one day after on the 4th in DC, they had like a perfectly umpired game. Yeah. So it was just the contrast between those two that really jumped out.
Yeah. And to go back a little bit and talk about, I want to mention Sandy. This is probably a question I wanted to give to everyone, but I'll start with Billy. Is this the single season greatest Marlins pitching to season overall in the franchise history what Sandy is doing this season?
I mean, it's been such a good stretch, right? Like the 11 straight games, I think everybody naturally, right, thinks back to Jose as like the next best Marlins pitcher, at least recently the most dominant Marlins pitcher. And he never had an 11-game stretch like that. Like what he's been doing has been incredible. And obviously people are saying like, oh, when the Cy Young, I mean, there's still the second half, right? So like this could all fall apart, but what he's been doing has been another level that I don't think has been seen. I mean, I can't remember the last time it's been done here ever.
I think you got to go back to Kevin Brown for the most impressive pitching performances this season for Miami that far back, because like you said, Jose never had a stretch like this. He was always sort of kept on a pitch limit, innings limit throughout the seasons. 2016 was his most full season, and it's still, not even close to how dominant Sandy has been.
Yeah, and just overall, would you even compare, guys like Dontrell Willis, and you mentioned Kevin Brown and Al Leiter, guys like that are just, compared to this season from Sandy, it's just insane. This could be one of the best seasons ever, maybe in the last 5-10 years, just by a pitcher that we're seeing this year from Sandy. Alex, just what is your take from Sandy this year, compared to franchise history?
I was trying to think of what it is that compares to Jose, and I think that based on performance, I think that this is the single greatest stretch. But there was just something about Jose, and I know this doesn't directly answer the question, but there was just something about Jose that was different. Yeah. It was, I think, the excitement and the out loudness of what he did. Like Sandy's a little bit of a quiet intensity, while Jose was just always out and about and talking to everyone that he can, and he was just always smiling, and there was always like an excited energy about him, while Sandy just kind of keeps his head down and just does his work. Also, whenever you have a Cuban pitcher out there in Miami, like that just does something. It does something that for whatever reason no other country can do in Miami. But in terms of actual stats, I think this is the best stretch we've had. And like Billy said, we have to see what happens after the All-Star break as well. But if he continues this, I think it does go down as the best single season in Marlins history.
The only time he shows emotion is like this, is when he's off the field and when he's angry. It's never in happiness. Yeah, I still like my stylistic comparison that I made a little while ago between him and peak Jake Arrieta. I think in terms, there really is nobody in Marlins history that's quite like him in terms of his pitching attributes and the way he's performing. I think the closest thing we can see is like Arrieta with the Cubs, the way that he was unhittable for an entire half of that season and giving length. And even that one, he wasn't pitching as deep into the games as Sandy was, where it's really like a coin flip whether he goes a complete game or not every time he takes him out. As long as the game is close, and like even games like when he doesn't go the distance, that he could have on Tuesday if he absolutely had to. It really is so unique in this team's history, and I just constantly cannot stop thinking about the contract that he's on and how they would not. I mean, if they had not signed him to that contract last offseason, then the conversation around Sandy would be completely different right now, because he at this half season has like moved him out of the normal Marlins price range unless you locked him up beforehand.
And Eli, you're so right about going deep into ball games. I think that's the other thing is, Kevin Brown, Dontrell Willis, they would go deep into games as well, but that was back when you were supposed to. No one's supposed to be pitching 8 innings anymore. I had a stat in my recap on Tuesday where I believe he's thrown 8 games this year where he goes at least 8 innings, which is already more than anyone had last year, and it's only July 7th.
Huh.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, the person with the next most 8-inning performances is at 3, I think, which is just, he's just so far much better than anyone else. It's crazy.
And you mentioned that his contract, Eli, just what do you guys think, Sandy? If this is, his last year, what do you think he gets in an open market? Does he get like a Garrett Cole type deal? Is that a guy who get $200-300 million, you think, Sandy, on the open market?
He still would have been a couple of years away from the open market anyway.
Yeah.
But that thing is the extension talks right now. They got him for 5 years, $56 million. I think that'd probably be doubled. That'd probably be doubled if they tried to do a deal right now, in terms of easily over $100 million, even a couple of years from free agency. This franchise has never given $100 million to a pitcher before, and I don't think they're probably ever going to, just because that's where they draw the line, even if he does come back down to earth in the second half.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about is some guys in the rest of that rotation who I think probably should be given some flowers, have just been really great so far this season, especially in spot rotations. Guys like Braxton Garrett, Pablo, even Dan Castano, who's just kind of been on a little bit of a roll as of late. Just what are you guys seeing from Dan Castano? He's pitching tonight against the Mets, and if this is a guy, if he continues to go on the roll that he kind of is going on, this is a guy who could stay in the rotation for the year on and maybe even next year?
Yeah, I think Castano's been really well. I mean, he just attacks his zone so much more aggressively. I mean, he knows he's not a plus guy. He flicks over that cutter and he gets ahead of counts. And it seems like he's always working from ahead. And he trusts his He's just been really good in the past couple of games, and I think he should play in the starting rotation if he continues at that pace.
Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
What is that, a cat? Definitely.
Yeah. Also, with Dan Castano, just how great he's been. Just for Isaac, what do you think? You mentioned on Dan Castano. Is this a guy you want to see in 2023 in the opening day rotation or even in a long relief role?
I don't think there'll be room for him in the opening day rotation, but I definitely think he's got a role on this team, whether it's a swingman, whether it's a higher leverage bullpen arm. I think he's definitely got a role. He's shown that he can really get guys out with that cutter that Brett mentioned. So I think he's really come a long way, and it just sort of adds more value to that trade with Marcell Ozuna and the Cardinals. You get Sandy, you get Jazz for Gallen, and now you have Castano as the throw-in, quote unquote. Like Nery Sierra, he's doing great things in AAA for the Los Angeles Angels. But it really does just show how valuable that trade was for Miami. Where they would be without that trade is a really frightening thought, because we all know about the other swings and misses they made in the other ones. So yes, to answer your question, I think Castano definitely reports to spring training, and hopefully he will be on the big league team somewhere in the bullpen.
Castano is having a better season than Ozuna is this year. I mean, Ozuna is he's not getting on base. He's like sub replacement level. And at least Castano, even in this tiny sample, he's been obviously very good and shockingly good. And he's been doing it every time pitching to Nick Fortes. So any excuse that they can make to get Fortes into the lineup more often to catch him, that's cool with me.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back a little bit and talk about something that Billy mentioned. I know he's probably chopping at the bits of this. The Marlin legend came back this series last time. Monte Harrison, MVP of that 2020 season. They should put a statue of him outside, a mural of Monte Harrison. Isaac, you were there. Just how great was it to see that 30, not even 30-second, 10-second tribute video of him tagging up, the greatest tag in Marlins history. It was. Did you see the way he moved, the way he had his glove on him?
All right. I had a sneaking suspicion that they might do something. So I did have my phone ready. I was in the right field bleachers, and the tagging up play. Okay, guys, let's put a little more context. It was a game-winning run in the clinching game for Miami. I know it's like they're really stretching it there, but I don't disagree with you guys that it was a little peculiar to have Monte Harrison. I don't think he ever reached 50 games played with the Marlins. Maybe he did. No, not even 50 games played. So I think that's a little bit of a stretch for sure. His prospect pedigree was a lot higher than any performance he had in the minors or majors. But I'll hand that over to Billy and just your thoughts on the Corey Dickerson video and the Monte Harrison tribute video.
Okay, so I'm not John Morales, but I did ask about the video and was told that it was supposed to happen before the game, and that for whatever reason it didn't happen. So that's why it happened before his first at bat. But that wasn't originally the plan. It was supposed to be before the game. But it was good because yesterday traffic was kind of crazy to get in. There's 18,000 people, which I think is the second highest attended game this season, or during the week game of the season. So a lot of people, myself included, would have missed the Monte Harrison tribute video, which I'm glad I didn't. What I felt bad for after seeing it was Jonathan VR, who was the very next hitter, who did not get a similar tribute video, which was kind of disappointing for me.
Yeah. You should put Griffin Conine highlights or something like that for VR. But that's just incredible, Monte Harrison. Did he even hit the ball to get on base with the Yankees?
No,
or
was he the placed runner? I think he was the placed runner.
I believe he was.
Either an automatic runner or a pinch runner.
Guys, he scored. Okay, let's not crap on Monte Harrison today. We're supposed to be celebrating him.
Yeah. The only reason I thought I said to these guys before the stream was just, okay, maybe you can show, okay, this guy was something special to someone who wasn't a big Marlins fan, to say, okay, we traded Yelich for someone, and just to show someone in the, a little kid in the stands saying, okay, oh wow, he must have been important, and obviously the real ones know.
I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but just since we're talking about that trade, and then we were talking about Sandy before, Jeremy Taché posed a very fun question on Twitter that I found very interesting. Are we at the point now where the Sandy trade was better than the Yelich trade was bad?
Yeah, with how mediocre Yelich has been, unfortunately, in the last 2 to 3 years, and like I mentioned, 2 all-star caliber players in Sandy and Jazz, and Castano playing well. I think it washes out, at least, if not, is a little bit in Miami's favor.
So I think we can move on from that. I think we can officially stop talking about that trade. No? Okay.
Well, let the record show July 7th. We're moving on.
Oh,
there's Noah.
Hey, Noah.
Mr. Berger, joining us right from Citi Field. How is Max Scherzer looking tonight?
I have not seen him.
Oh.
What have you seen?
Give us some insight.
I've seen the Marlins players, and I've seen they've cut the number 17 into the outfield for Keith Hernandez because they're retiring his number tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm trying not to get yelled at, to be quiet. Yeah, it's a really nice ballpark. Although I did get moderately lost coming in.
So what do you plan to see tonight from that game with the Mets and the Marlins? Anything you're really looking at, Noah, that you want to see?
A win.
No, I love you. I love you for that.
This series could have been so exciting. This could have been so. I mean, it still can be exciting, but if they would have gotten to 500 yesterday and then gone up again, I mean, they're like what 40 games behind the Mets in the division right now, so it doesn't really matter. But to come off of that like at 500 and then have like a big series against the division leading team would have been exciting. I mean, it still can be. Can I ask you guys an unrelated question?
Yes, please.
Because you were asking about Max Scherzer, right? Who got like the good publicity for going to going to minor league and doing his rehab start and getting everyone everything. Chris Sale is a crazy person, right? He's like insane, right? Like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't diagnose him as insane. Not that that's a diagnosis, but like, that's kind of crazy people behavior, like destroying everything in a rehab start.
Yeah, it's apparently
he paid for it.
He walked in a run on a close pitch, and he was taken out of his rehab start. And there's a video of him going absolutely bananas in a minor league clubhouse. And it's just like, they have to fix that. He's it's a little bit of a strange one for sure. We'll see.
But he also had like a couple of years ago, didn't he have the thing where he didn't like the alternate jerseys that they were wearing for a game and just cut them all up?
Yes, and he was suspended for I think 10 games for that. Yeah, he said he doesn't like the way he pitches with it on. It was tight or something. Oh, right. And the White Sox denied his request to change him, and so he went into the locker room game before.
Take it easy a little, Chris. Like, that's why I think Chris so angry about it. Yeah, I
totally forgot about that. When he was dominant, with the White Sox, you didn't really realize it until now. He's just
those White Sox teams were different. I remember. I think it was Adam Dunn or was it Adam LaRoche when he had his son into the clubhouse.
LaRoche.
That was crazy times. And you look at Chris Sale, he didn't have like the worst start. I'm looking at his numbers now. 5 walks is probably the biggest thing, but I don't think it's worth damage.
It was 1 earned run, right?
Yeah, 1 earned run, 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, 5 walks. All right. I don't think it was worth, damaging their entire clubhouse and all that property. But I guess when you have the money like Chris Sale.
Yeah, I think he'll be getting the bill for that in the next couple of weeks because I don't think they're going to deal with that.
Yeah. While Noah is here, do we want to toss it to the break? Because we want to tease something here. Ooh. On the same YouTube channel of Fish Drives, we just dropped our interview with Stephen Okert as part of the What a Relief podcast series. And we have a little segment of where he talks about Tom Kohler being his agent. The former Marlins player is his agent that got him a deal with the Marlins last year.
Wow.
So we'll give you a taste of that, and then we'll come right back.
I reached out to 4 or 5 different agencies and ended up going with Tom. The way he was kind of persistent, asking me if we were ready to do this. He's ready to get to work. And, obviously he'd made good money in his career playing baseball. So to me, it felt like something that he really wanted to do. And it wasn't just, him trying to be an agent to make some money. And so I go with him, and when he's nonstop reaching out to all the teams, he told me, he's like, dude, they're going to block me. I'm reaching out so much. And, for me, it was just like, well, he's doing everything he can. So now it's all up to me to try to get a job. I mean, he's reaching out, he's getting scouts here, he's, getting some attention. And so I felt like he was a good match for me.
Well, welcome back, everyone. See that quick thing right there for Noah and Stephen. Okay, catch on all your Fish Drives podcasts tomorrow when it comes out.
It's already out. It's already out today. Yeah.
No
yeah, wherever you get your pods, and here on YouTube.
You can get it on now with Noah Berger as he interviews Stephen Okert. But I want to go into what we're all here for, this series between the Marlins and the Mets. Probably the biggest series so far right now for Miami as they're trying to inch closer and closer to 500, 2 games back, going up in Citi Field with a dangerous lineup. Luckily, they're not going to face Max Scherzer, but they're still going to face a nice rotation in the Mets. Isaac, what do you want to see from the Marlins against the Mets? What is the one thing you're looking for?
I got in trouble with Jeremy Taché on the home opener for saying that exact statement. Okert is better than Josh Hader. But right after I said that, Bryce Harper hit him for a 2-run double. So that's why Mr. Taché was mad at me. For this series, just stay afloat. Don't fall back to 3-4 games under. You got to at least split the series for sure. This is we're in mid-July and Miami's still in the hunt, quote unquote. So they have to remain relevant. They have Sandy going on Sunday, so it's going to be Castano, I think Garrett, and it's going to be Pablo tomorrow. So they got to win at least 2. You have 2 of your studs going, and so like I said, it can't be reiterated enough. They have to split. They cannot lose 3 out of 4. They have to split or win 3 out of 4, or surprise us all and ruin Keith Hernandez's weekend and sweep the series.
Look at Navi spoiling my series MVP pick. His comments about Lindor.
Ooh.
Yeah, Lindor is not having a great year overall, but against the Marlins, he has been otherworldly, and that has pretty much changed the whole narrative about him. So if that continues, I agree. That does make a pretty big difference.
And because we are like here in July, I do want to ask Billy just your expectations into this season. How were they? Because I listen to the Dan Levitard show, especially on Thursdays where the David Sampson segment happens, and I love it. It's my guilty pleasure. Just sort of your expectations going into the year and where they are now, because I thought they're better than where I had them.
So, I mean, I'm dumb. Every season I believe that this is going to be the season. Oh, they're going to make the playoffs. Oh, things will be different this season. And like they got off to a really hot start in April. So I was like, you know what? Maybe, even though I think that everybody knows like the offense is kind of the thing with this team, right? It's inconsistent. You can't really rely on it. The pitching is a whole nother thing. You can rely on the pitching. You know that the pitching's going to be okay. I guess they're like right around where I thought they would be, right? Maybe doing a little bit better. There were stretches where they didn't seem like they were going to get back to close to 500. I'm a little worried with this series. Like, I feel like this could be one of those classic Marlins series where they do lose 3 of 4 and then they get further from 500 and then see if they crawl back eventually. But a split would be good. I mean, I'd take a split. 3 of 4 would be better, but I feel like this is one of those classic Marlins things where they get us so close and thinking like, okay, we're going to get to 500 again. And then we'll head to the All-Star break and we'll come out hot and it'll be a totally different season. But I feel like 3 of 4 might happen, like 3 of 4 losses this series. I hope it doesn't, but I mean, you have Pablo and Sandy. You should get 2, but I'm worried.
Yeah.
We'll keep some of those predictions later on when we do our predictions. No, it's good. It's good to keep that out there for now. I want to talk about really quick the lineups and really the Marlins lineup, and especially the hitter who is in the 9th hole, Nick Fortes, who probably should be the starting catcher going forward now. Eli, what is your take on Nick Fortes hitting 9th, and should he be there for the rest of the season?
I didn't even think about that. Just because I feel helpless about Mattingly's lineups and the logic behind them. I mean, we're not that far removed from him putting Fortes like in the middle of the order. There was that one day, was it the last game against the Nats that he batted 5th? But that's because they took out all the old guys and he didn't have to respect anybody. So that was open for him. Yeah, so he's 9th today. Miggy is hitting really well, and Brian Anderson is Brian Anderson. I mean, really, the one suggestion you can make is either just switching places with Aguilar or with Avi in the middle of the lineup, but he's not going to do anything quite that drastic. I mean, those guys right now are the weakest links in the entire lineup, and they're batting in the very middle of the lineup. So go figure. But that has been the experience of watching this team the whole year, and even if they eventually do move those guys down more than they have been to this point, it's going to be a gradual process. At least he's in there, Fortes, and they're not going to pinch hit for him like they did. I was really excited to see. It didn't matter at the end, but the fact that they put Fortes as a pinch hitter for Stallings, I think that was last night, in a close game. They hadn't been doing that this year. For whatever reason, the team has not been acknowledging the obvious, that Stallings, out of all these guys, is the one that is most helpless at the plate. So the willingness to do that little step, that was encouraging to me.
Yeah, I wanted to get Billy's thoughts. I don't think we've heard this yet on probably also the biggest free agent signing from Miami. Have not panned out at all. Avi Garcia, just what are your thoughts on him? A guy who's getting more than $50 million, 4 years. He's, I believe, 31 right now at the moment. Just what do you take on Avi and that entire situation the Marlins put themselves in?
I mean, he's been a disappointment so far, right? They have 4 years, so you hope that he turns it around at some point. But this is another one of those Marlins offseason signings that you kind of at the time are like, maybe this will work out. And hopefully it doesn't become, like John Buck, where we're now stuck with this person. We're paying him a ton of money, and there's nothing we can do about it because what are you going to do? Like, who's going to trade for Avi Garcia? Unless the situation's bad and he's thrown in on some sort of like dump where you trade a better player, but you don't want that to be the case. I'd rather keep Avi and keep all of the good players. You were talking before about Sandy also, and if they hadn't assigned him to that extension last offseason, Do you think that at the deadline they would, with the way he's been pitching, his stock could not be higher than it is right now, right? If they wouldn't have had him locked up for this many years, I would be worried right now that they might move him with where the team is and what you could get for him potentially.
Yeah. I think that's a conversation that they're starting to have with themselves about Pablo Lopez, who hasn't been as dominant as Sandy Alcantara has been, but he's running out of years for of club control. So I think that is something that they're gonna kick themselves over, whether to sign him, whether to trade him now. His stock isn't quite as high as it was in May when he was,
pitcher of the month, in April.
Yeah, he was just dominant. So we'll see. But that's a good question because I like to think that they wouldn't. I like to think that no matter what, they're going to sign him, whether it's 55 million or now it's 100. I like to think that they're done with that trading good players in their prime, but you never know with this ball club.
Yeah, and you have so many guys coming back. Eddie Cabrera, Jesus Luzardo, Cody Petit, future Cy Young, Sixto Sanchez. Well, that's a question I can ask you, Billy. What are your thoughts on Sixto and all his updates where he's just pitching a different feed and no one knows if he's ever going to come back?
I was going to ask you guys, you guys seem to have a better idea on this stuff. But the updates, Sixto's throwing from 120 feet now. It's well, let's get him throwing from 60 feet 6 inches every 5th day. All right, enough with 120 feet. Can we just get him pitching again? What's going on with him? Why is everything such a mystery around him? I don't get it.
He has reached the point. He's on the mound again. He has we actually just pulled up the injury update that came out today. He does have another bullpen session coming up this weekend. So he's inching close to actually facing live hitters. But that's going to be the important milestone, is actually having him behave be a pitcher, which he has not been for a year and a half now. What we have here with Sixto. Yeah, on Saturday. His next bullpen session. And I did see this on Instagram. I saw a 4-second clip from the side of him throwing a pitch at normal intensity. And
how did he look?
he looked the same. He looked the same. For people that are concerned about his weight, there's been a lot of fat shaming about him due to his injury. I don't think that's relevant. I think more important is just the structural integrity of his shoulder. And we're not going to know until he actually faces live hitters and goes on a rehab assignment. I've been as high on Sixto as anybody going back to last year, but that's when I assumed that he was going to get back healthy. And turns out to be an extremely long rehab process. The fact that he underwent so we're a year removed from surgery, but it really feels like more than that. He had the original injury. So you can't expect anything from him. He is inching in the right direction. I'll give him credit for that.
So just to throw my question back out there, who throws a pitch in the major leagues sooner? Jake Eder or Sixto Sanchez?
Eder.
Jake Eder.
I'm going to say Eder by default until Sixto actually faces live batters. Maybe I'll change it then. But for the moment, I'll stick with Jake
in the
Eder.
major leagues. I'm not saying Jake Eder comes back and pitches minor league. I'm saying he gets called up to the major leagues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll stick with that.
First
I'll say Sixto because everyone said the other guy.
Alex, how you feeling, about the game tonight and what you saw from the Marlins against the Angels? You're muted.
Oh, my bad. I'm glad to be wrong in my prediction again. You guys mostly were right in saying 1-1, so it was good for you guys. But yeah, everything together it was an okay series. Sandy is ridiculous, as we know. I don't have to go on with that. What we saw yesterday, the game kind of got away, is what I can say about that game. They have an early lead, and then Trevor is just, I don't know what's going on with Trevor. I really don't. He's just not the same pitcher we saw last year. The league's clearly adjusted to him, and he can't adjust back. And then I know you guys like Zach Pop. I have my own feelings, so I won't go there. Tommy Nance, he's alive and well, but still not pitching very well. I'd say that about him. And Richard Blyer threw a scoreless inning out of the bullpen, so I guess that's one of your pluses from the game. But yeah, game got away. Trevor, I don't know what's going on with him. So everything together, 50-50 series really, and Sandy is just the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, and you mentioned that bullpen, just guys like Tommy Nance, Lewis Head. You combine them into one pitcher, and it'll be still over a 5 ERA. But guys like Tommy Nance, Lewis Head, Billy, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on this bullpen, especially with guys like Anthony Bass who are going off, Steven Okert, who you can listen to. Have an interview with Noah Berger exclusively on Fish Stripes podcast, or you can listen to everywhere. But Billy, what are your thoughts on the Marlins bullpen at the moment?
I don't super trust them. I mean,
I don't super trust them.
I thought they were going to blow the game the other day when Sandy came out. So, that wasn't great. But they're okay. I mean, they're not great. Did you guys see the stat that Jeff Passan put out? I know I'm kind of changing the subject. Did you guys see the stat that Jeff Passan put out the other day about Sandy, where they were talking about who should start the All-Star game?
Yeah.
Where they were saying how he's essentially an All-Star caliber starter and relief pitcher because of what he does to players on their third and fourth times through the lineup.
Yeah.
So would Sandy qualify for your bullpen podcast or no?
I like the way you think.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, remember, Oker brought that up on the pod, how saying that Sandy Day is a vacation for them, that they do mentally check out when they know he's pitching because you just.
That's kind of worrisome. They do
That's why they shit the bed for him usually. Yeah. They don't expect to get him in.
It is amazing because every time he pitches, at most you get 2 innings from somebody not named Sandy on those days. And I guess you just play the odds. Hey, it's probably not going to be me that's needed in this game if you're a reliever in that position.
That's a good point you mentioned. The All-Star game is getting closer. I want to put it out there. What is the percentage that we see Sandy Alcantara start the All-Star game? Because we saw report Ken Rosenthal. He's promoting. He wants Clayton Kershaw out there, Tony Gosselin because it's in L.A. I would like to see both Florida pitchers start it. Shane McClanahan against Sandy. Just what do you guys the percentage that we see Sandy start the All-Star game? Not make it, but start it.
Luckily, it's not up to Ken Rosenthal. Kershaw's pitched 56 innings. 56 innings. Sandy's at 123 or so. Come on. It shouldn't even be discussion. It should be 85%.
If you look how it lines up, if you honestly look how it lines up, if he stays on 5 days rest, which we expect with no off days, of course, as we know, he would be lined up to pitch, I think, on the 15th, if I'm looking at this right, against the Phillies. And that is that's 4 days rest, including the off day. So I kind of doubt it that he would start the game if he is going to pitch regularly on 5 days rest. So I would say I doubt it. And like Billy said, he could just be lights out of the bullpen for 1 inning. I'm okay with that in a meaningless game. So that's cool. And then he would qualify for Noah's podcast. So it would be perfect.
No complete game.
I'm loving this.
All-Star game. Complete game shutout from Sandy. You don't see that happening?
Some people have been joking that because Brian Snitker is the National League manager, that he wants to ride Sandy into the grounds in a meaningless game.
I'm worried that he's going to start Max Fried because it's his guy, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max Fried is another guy who deserves.
He'd get crucified.
I'm telling you, it's between Sandy and Gonsolin. Gonsolin has a slightly lower ERA. He's undefeated. So if you want to watch something after the Marlins game tonight, you watch the Dodgers play, I forget who they're playing, the Cubs, playing the Cubs. And that's Tony Gonsolin pitching, and you can just root against him because if he loses, I think if he loses a game and he allows a few earned runs in the process, I think that seals the deal for Sandy. So I'd give Sandy 60% chance. I do think he's the favorite, but it could go either way. It depends. It's kind of out of his hands at this point. You need Gonsolin to lose.
So in that case, Eli, would the Marlins, I mean, it's kind of sounds silly to say this because the All-Star game no longer means anything, as we know. Would they push him up a day in the rotation so that he is able to go multiple innings in the All-Star game, or would they just do it on 4 days rest?
Yeah, you're worrying too much about that. You look at history, and a lot of starting pitchers do an inning or two in the All-Star game, even if it's not on their normal schedule. I don't think it's a big deal that way.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I have no doubt he will still be available for 1 to 2 innings, but just in terms of starting and gearing up to start, maybe you're right.
Yeah. Really quick, Noah, you're gonna have to go. Your prediction. So series MVP could be from the Mets, Marlins, hitter, pitcher, and then your overall prediction for the series, game-wise.
So my prediction for the series is a series split. I think they win with Pablo and I win with Sandy. I wouldn't be surprised if Castano goes off again, but it's probably not happening. My series MVP will be John Birdie. You can't go wrong with Birdie.
Good pick. Well, that leaves me a little bit. I want to talk about a little more around the All-Star game. Maybe not the game itself, but the futures game. And the Marlins do have a representative, one of the best pitchers in baseball, or prospect pitchers in baseball. New pipeline came out. He is the highest ranked Marlin. He is in, I believe, the top 15 at the moment, or for sure top 20. Yuri Perez. Alex, what do you think about Yuri making it to the future game? And is that another Marlin that we could see start an All-Star game there? Can you start the futures game?
Definitely could. Possible. It's unprecedented. I've talked about this guy out on length, his age in Double-A, and now he said earlier this year that this is what he wants to do. That would make the world to him to make the futures game, and he did it. So just a guy that sets his sights on goals, and with how special he is, reaches them pretty easily. He's special, man. And you're looking at possibly next year, possibly 2024, that this guy's a major leaguer. Possibly at the age of 20, ridiculous. So yeah, that guy's really good. Definitely could see him start. And I'm not at liberty to say who it is right now, but as far as I know, there is a second participant in the futures game. So I believe there will be 2 Marlins pitching in the futures game. So there you go.
Say it.
What's his name rhyme with?
Yeah, good. That's a good question.
Now, Alex, I do want to point out, I trust your sourcing. I do want to point out that they did announce the full in quotes roster today. It was 51 guys, but some of those are either in the big leagues or will be in the big leagues in the next week and a half. So I believe this player who is still on the down low is like an alternate technically when one of those guys inevitably is unavailable. I think that is why we didn't hear his name today.
So if you guys both know it, just say it. Don't be.
Yeah, say it.
You guys both know. It's Max Meyer, right?
Max Meyer.
No, Max did it last year. I don't want to repeat it.
Not Max Meyer.
Who the crust could it be?
Sixto. Obviously, it's Sixto.
Okay. Just the fact that you guys don't know just proves how underrated this prospect is. So when you guys hear it, maybe you'll.
It's Dax Fulton for sure.
I don't know. Maybe.
Say it.
It's definitely Dax Fulton for sure.
Well, what are the consequences to saying it?
Exactly.
What is going to happen to you if you say it?
Kim Ang is gonna come knock on his front door.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as if you guys really want to know, as far as I know, and again, I've been wrong before. The people that I talk to have been wrong before, but as far as I know, it is Dax Fulton. So, there you go.
Hey, well, explain to maybe if some people are Dax Fulton is not really one of the biggest names like Max Meyer or Eddie Cabrera, really underrated prospect. Give us a note that what people should know about Dax Fulton if he does make the futures game.
Better than Braxton Garrett. A better version.
Huge, tall lefty, a bigger Braxton Garrett with better stuff. That's my Dax Fulton report. Keep it short. He's good though. He's really good. His curveball is disgusting, just like Garrett, but he can command his fastball, which has been a problem for Braxton until he got this new pitch slider. So, yeah, bigger, taller Braxton Garrett lefty. Hides the ball well, short arm slot. I love Dax Fulton. When everybody was saying that he could get traded, I was so glad that he didn't because it would be a sell low. It's more of a sell high now, but just the fact that nobody still really thinks about him, as we just proved, the fact that he, I think, is going to get a chance to be in the futures game is pretty cool.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention to you really quick before we move on, I want to keep it still in the prospects. And one person I wanted to talk about was Khalil Watson. In the new pipeline top 100, he did go down almost dramatically. Went from 19 to now 52, a minus 33. Alex, first round pick, top prospect a lot of people had for the Marlins, especially hitting wise. And now to see him falling almost from top to now, we're even in the middle of the top 100. Just what's going wrong here? What's going wrong with Khalil Watson?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that it's the deserved drop for him. For sure. This guy just doesn't get it in terms of being a Major League Baseball, professional baseball player. It started in this interview that you see on your screen when he literally told Derek Jeter verbatim that he better give him his money. So that was your first red flag for this player. And this is not the first time that this player, with what we saw him do last week, and he hasn't played since then, where he's motioning towards the umpire with his bat after he strikes out. It has not been the first player that he has been benched for disciplinary reasons. I've told you guys before, there is no nonsense policy for everybody in Jupiter. And he has not been the only guy, but he's been the most affected guy by this just because he continues to do stupid crap. So he has a horrible attitude and his strikeout rate is over 40%. You're going to fall. So you can have all the tools in the world. If you don't get it mentally, then it's a problem. And I think it has so far in his short tenure with the Marlins in Major League Baseball he's been a real problem child. So I don't blame Pipeline for the fall. I agree with them in terms of where he is overall in the league. So yeah, I mean, he needs to really, really check himself, mentally.
You think
whenever he gets back on the field, he has not played, as I just mentioned, since that incident last Friday. So yeah.
Well, that leaves me wanting to go into our next topic, not really related to maybe even baseball. I wanted to talk to Billy. A lot of us here are sports media. A lot of us are students trying to get into it. I want to talk to you. What does it take to get, where you're at? Some advice for those listening, for those here in studio with you. Just what really does it take to be a sports media analyst, and what should we do to maybe get to where you're at?
I mean, some of it is luck, which I know is not helpful, to tell you, because you can't just be lucky. But I don't know, you got to be lucky. I know that it's not what you should hear, but connections is important. So kind of, oh wow, advice from Billy Gill. This is pretty serious now. Just be a decent person to people, right? Because you never know who you're going to work with again down the road. So don't think that you're above people or better than people, or this person doesn't really matter because of whatever. Because it's such a weird industry, right? Where you're gonna cross the same people over and over again. So just work really hard, try to outwork everyone around you, be humble, and just be a good, decent person. And then hopefully, you get lucky along the way and things work out. And someone is starting something and they think, oh, I used to work with this person. This person was not a piece of crap. Maybe they should come work with me. So yeah, just be a good person and work hard, and hopefully things, take care of the rest. I don't know. What advice did John Morales give you guys?
I don't know. Did we ask him? I don't think I'm trying to remember the last. When we had Glenn Geffner on in the offseason, and he had some very eloquent advice.
What did Glenn Geffner say?
It's been a while, hasn't it? Most of you guys were on that with him. You probably remember as well as I do.
Yeah, I was hosting that. I know one of his pieces of advice was just, hey, you know what? If you really love doing play-by-play, put the game on mute, record yourself doing the play-by-play, and then replay the game with you doing the play-by-play, and just see how you do. Because
he's a pro, man.
He is the best in the league.
The best in baseball.
I was worried when I did this spring training. I called the game with Kyle. I don't remember who it was that they were.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and Glenn was out, and Glenn tweeted something about it after the effect of, well, we survived that one. No one got hurt. Nothing was burned down. I'm like, geez, I'm embarrassed that Glenn Geffner was listening to this disaster of a game.
I'm getting some fresh memories of that game because I remember there was a lot of feedback that went to me as well because it was a non-conventional broadcast that you. So that was a fun experiment.
Negative feedback.
Who was it with you, Billy? It was you, Kyle, and who?
It was me, Kyle, and Chris Cody.
That's
that
right.
were doing the game. Yeah, I had a good time. It was late in spring training. I think it was the last week of spring training. So Glenn got a day off, but I got the sense that he wasn't a huge fan of that experiment. Kyle was great though. I don't know if you guys have met Kyle. I mean, I'm assuming that you've interacted with Kyle. Yeah. Kyle's the best.
Yeah,
and he put up with our nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that segment with you and Chris would have been a lot better if it were 2 or 3 innings, just the whole game.
Wow, jeez.
No offense.
Coming in harsh.
It was awesome though. It was fun.
So I mean, wow, I'm insulted. Throwing truth bomb. It was actually the first time they asked us to do it was 2 years ago, and it was for a regular season September game, but it got blocked because at the time we were working at ESPN, and ESPN had a partnership with 790 The Ticket because that's where it aired. So even though we didn't work for 790 because the games were on 940, out of courtesy they asked 790 and they blocked it. So as bad as you thought that was for spring training, there was originally a plan for that to possibly happen during a regular season September game, which I'm assuming Glenn might have been part of. So it could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. But he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, he makes anyone, every color analyst that he has, whether it's Kelly or it's Kyle or it's JP or it's Stevie, he does the work for them. You can't go wrong with Glenn.
Yeah. And well, I think now is a perfect time to talk about to discuss our favorite topic every time we have a stream. That is prediction time. We give our predictions for the Marlins series. As you can see here in the predictions, Eli is the GOAT. Eli is Babe Ruth. He is, Dan Marino when it comes to live predictions. 35 points. I'm in second. At the bottom, we have Lewis, Noah, and Isaac. I'm going to start off, let's see, with Eli. You're at the top. I'm going to let you go first. Give me your predictions. You're Nostradamus. Whatever you do, we'll follow.
I'm just copying and pasting what I did the last time they were in New York. And that was also a 4-game series. And I have the Mets winning 3 out of 4 with my series MVP, Francisco Lindor, who is not playing well against anybody except the Marlins. But this will be one that cheers him up, I suppose. Should be just like that last year. It should be a lot of competitive games. Anyway.
Let's go to Alex Kerchuk.
I also have the Mets winning 3 of 4. My MVP, kind of out of left field, it's going to be Chris Bassett, just because that's the exact kind of pitcher that would put up 8 innings and no runs against us.
All right, Brett.
I'm going to go with a series split. And after watching his at-bats against us when he played the Marlins, he had a really good series last series against the Reds. One of my top players that I like, the second baseman. I'm going to go with Brandon Nimmo.
Ooh. Nice.
I like the way he plays.
That guy's a god.
Isaac.
I'll go with a series split as well. I think with Castano pitching the way he is and Sandy and Pablo, they got to win at least 2. And just to hold on to the season, they got to win 2. I'm gonna go with Starling Marte for the series.
Or that's a guy who did the tribute video.
Yes,
that's the tribute video guy.
Has he? Yeah. Did they? Yeah, they did it for him. They did it for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Starling Marte is my MVP.
No one's ever looked better in a Marlins uniform or any baseball uniform than Starling Marte.
Thank you. I thought I was the only one who thought that.
Him and the Athletics one looked nice.
I actually thought Monte Harrison looked great in a uniform too, but
he did. And the Angels, I was looking at him up close, and he just he's jacked, and you could tell all right, that's a professional baseball player. He looks the part, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, you could tell his strikeout percentage is over 80%. You could tell. You could tell.
Alex, you're up on your predictions. I think I can kind of guess where you're going.
No, yeah, I'm also gonna go series split on this one. I do agree with Isaac. I do like how Castano is throwing the ball. I think he's more competitive than a lot of people give him credit for. He is facing a former Marlin in Trevor Williams today, though, who has one of the best Twitter handles of all time, Miyamo Trevor, which I don't know. I just love that Twitter handle. So props to Trevor Williams and his awesome hair. But I think they have a good chance tonight. I'm not betting against Pablo or Sandy. Braxton's been up and down. So, but yeah, I'll give them 2 games in a big series for them. They definitely need to at least split the series. So yeah, 2 games. I will give a Met the MVP though, and I'll go with Pete Alonso as the MVP.
All right. For me, I'm going to go with a series split also. I think when you have Sandy on the mound, it's almost an automatic win right now for Miami. And I think with Pablo, that's another guy that I think is going to give the Marlins a win. But I'm not going to go in that route in terms of MVP. I'm going to go with let's go with Mark Canha. That's a guy that's had a sneaky good season. Another guy that the Marlins wanted but couldn't get in the offseason. So I'm going to go with Mark Canha as my MVP. And let me do Kevin's really quick, who's not here. He says, Marlins take first and last game of the series. MVP, Sandy Alcantara. So he has Sandy as his MVP. And Billy Gill, we've been waiting for this prediction. Drum roll, we're ready for it.
Well, so before I told you I think the Marlins were going to lose 3 of 4. I've changed my mind. The Marlins are going to sweep the Mets. And I think the MVP is going to be Jesus Sanchez. I wanted to say the MVP was going to be Billy Hamilton because I just want him to have moments in a Marlins uniform. But I feel like he can't. How many stolen bases do you think he'd have to have as a pinch runner to be the MVP? 5 in 4 games? There's nothing he's going to be able to do as a pinch runner to be the MVP. But I'm going to try to manifest a sweep here. Have the Marlins get above 500 and then head into the All-Star break with some positive energy and then maybe turn things around. We'll see. Also, that's not going to happen. I have a question. What's the most number of points that I can get for predictions?
3. Oh, 3. If you get the exact number of Marlins wins and you get the MVP. Yeah. we have a leaderboard of 30 something people that have appeared on the show this year, and you'd hop to the top half immediately. You just get
with 3 points.
Yeah, a lot of people whiff. They get shut out on their first appearance as a guest, but of course you could come back multiple times throughout the year.
I mean, Billy Hamilton as MVP wouldn't get me a point, I don't think. So
no,
I'll stick to
I think
Sanchez.
and you know what? There's 4 right-handed pitchers on the mound for the Mets, so you'd think that Jesus starts all of them. So that's a good MVP pick.
Thanks.
I mean, we did have a relief pitcher one time as MVP.
Really?
I didn't think it happened.
I mean, wasn't Eric Gonzalez the MVP one time as well? Eli got it right, I think.
Eric freaking Gonzalez was an MVP.
What's your formula for who wins the MVP?
It's win probability added. It's a stat that they keep for both hitters and pitchers, and just depends. For pitcher, it really needs to be a close game for the pitcher to get that, and for the hitter, it's kind of obvious that just get hits,
clutch hits.
That's why Ohtani was like the perfect MVP choice, because he was pitching and then he was going to hit both games. So it was like, all right, Ohtani will probably have the biggest WPA.
Did you guys all pick Ohtani?
I picked Sandy.
I picked Ohtani. I had to pick Ohtani.
Yeah.
I had to. Billy, we want to thank you so much for coming on. But before you go out, give us a little quick review. What are your thoughts? First time on Fish Stripes Live. What do you think?
It wasn't as bad as I thought I was going to be. I was not prepared. I was concerned about it, and I told myself I'm going to watch like every game for the first 2 weeks leading up to this to make sure not to mess this up, which I didn't end up doing. But even had I done that, I didn't think that there was going to be such a deep dive into the minor league system. So next time I'm on, and I'm glad that no one went to me talk about the farm system, because that wouldn't have gone well for me. I was liking Isaac at the beginning, and then he told me that my minor league game should have only been 2 innings, so that was a bit insulting. But I think things went well when he said Jesus Sanchez was a good MVP pick, so we're ending on good terms there.
Awesome.
Overall, a pleasant experience. I don't know why Alex wanted to be such a secret who it is that was going to be in the futures game, but
he likes to do that.
You beat it out of me. You and Isaac beat it out of me, so we're good. You can start tonight, by the way. You can start tonight on your minor league knowledge by watching Yuri Perez pitch for Pensacola.
Yes.
He pitches tonight? Nice.
I'll start. That's the next Sandy.
I'll probably not be doing that, but I appreciate the tip.
We have to get you on Marlins Jeopardy, what we do.
No, you do not. That will
to...
be an embarrassment for me. Danny wipes the floor with everybody.
Oh, do you not watch the other 7 times when the other guy wins?
No.
No.
Who's the other guy?
Me.
That guy, yeah.
This way.
Yeah.
But he's the daddy of that game show.
Well, we want to thank everyone for watching. This has been Up There. We have our tier rankings. We have John Morales, and now we have Billy Gill right there. John Morales, MVP of all time. But Billy, again, we want to thank you so much. This is awesome. This is, we hope to do this again. One of the best, Fish Traps Live we've had, or ever, we could say. Before we go, let me let everyone off. For Daniel, Isaac, Eli, Alex K, Alex C, Brent, Billy, this has been Fish Stripes Live, and always, no matter what, go fish.